Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Bachelor in Paradise post-show live chat with me, Bachelor Fantake, where we're going to be talking about everything that went down this week. What is it, week 8? Something like that? I don't know. I don't know how those things work anymore. Everything that went down in, we'll say, week 8 of Bachelor in Paradise. How's everyone doing tonight? Quite the night in paradise as we're closing in on the finale. And another Bachelor in Paradise prom happens where everything goes awry and a whole lot more arguing and a lot of not fun stuff. But before we get into more of the chat, of course, gotta go over the chat rules. Number 1, please, no posting any spoilers. Sleuthing is always welcome. I know we're right at the end here, but please no posting any spoilers. Anything that's from the previews, anything that's from an official source. There are a few vague things that we talk about here, but if anything's kind of vague, like the Nick Viall post that was a bit of a spoiler the other week, I'll let you know. I'll warn you ahead of time before any of that gets talked about. Number 2, I'll try to respond to as many questions as I can, but super chats will get priority. And last but not least, the most important rule, be kind to each other, everyone. So, yes, and I see Sia already with the super chat. Really appreciate it. That was a rough episode. Yes, it was. An episode that saw Andrew going home, Jasenia going home, NC going home. That was a wild argument, fight, whatever you want to call it there at the Sadie Hawkins Bachelor in Paradise Prom 2.0, whatever you want to call it, event that happened. Everything. Logan and Kate just constantly fighting about the same stuff over and over again. We saw Rachel and Gabby come to the beach and just basically crap all over Logan the whole time, and then leave. You know, that's what they were there for, apparently. But then you know, just tensions high. It's not been very long, and relationships are being tested. I felt that Andrew wasn't really doing anything wrong in this moment. You know, whatever this argument was. I think Florence and a few others said it pretty clear as well. You could see what was happening. You could see what was going on. You could see that Andrew was not trying to flirt with her or get back together. They were having a conversation, and it wasn't going very well. You know, they were very animated, and you know, just let them have that. Clear that out. You know, it's very obvious that she's no threat to NC. Let them have that conversation, and then once it's over, come get your man. And, you know, try to enjoy the rest of the night. But, no, NC thought that it was, I don't know, he was putting her first. He was putting Jasenia's needs first. He was validating her needs. And, you know, not hers. And then it was just wild. And when Andrew kind of ended things, she just flipped. So, but yeah, you know, ultimately, Andrew left. And he said... He said he always felt something for Teddy, and he still does, and that was kind of holding him back. So, but on the other point of Andrew not being there for the right, you know, why didn't he leave if he wasn't fully there? What if he wasn't fully invested? I think, you know, it is fair for him to say he was still hoping for something. You know, I think that's fair. So, and. Yes, and Teddy, you know, maybe they'll be there at the after the final rose. I hope so. I don't think there are any guarantees. I mean, Teddy already left, but you know, it'd be nice to see if maybe there's a second chance there, and if not, hey, it's okay too. Maybe outside of Paradise, less pressure, no cameras around. Maybe that'll give him a chance. And Zig, thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate that as well. The producers really said, let the memes flow this episode. Yeah. Oh, and of course, there was the big argument between Aaron and Genevieve, who are going to be, totally fine after they leave Paradise and head off to college. Totally fine. An argument over, is itching pain? Is itching technically like a low form of pain? And I googled it immediately, and apparently at one point it was considered a low form of pain, but now is not. So itching is not pain is the official word. Though apparently it once was, so maybe that was what Andrew was reading or something, some old thing. But yeah, that was wildly stupid. And once more, Genevieve was packing her bags and ready to leave. I don't know. She's like a 4-year-old who's yelling at their parents and then packs their bags, goes to leave, walks down the street. She's got her like suitcase with the teddy bear arm sticking out still, looking back, making sure. Do you seeing me go? You seeing me go? I'm almost at the end of the street. Anyways, and Maria Hernandez, really appreciate the super chat. Good to see ya. Why is Kate crapping all over Logan? For once, I'm on his side. I know, me too. Why are Aaron and Genevieve fighting over little things like they really fight like children? I sympathize with Justin's choice. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I don't know. I've never really been a Logan fan, but I've also never really been all that against Logan like many people have been. However, this is the best thing that's ever happened to him, because now he's seen as the good guy in this fight, because it's just been I'll show you tomorrow. I've got it planned for the recap, so stay tuned for that. But there's a moment where in the first episode of the week on Monday where Kate says, I've never criticized you. Name one time I've ever criticized you, Logan, except for the rose ceremony, where I told you to step it up. And we have receipts. We have receipts, so the receipts will be on display. But yeah, if so many times this season, I have felt like if I was that person, I would leave. I would be out of there. I felt that way for Logan. I felt that way for Andrew tonight. Just, Andrew, please. Andrew, please stay. Andrew. Andrew. Like, get me out of here. I just want to go home. I want to, get me to I want to order some room service and just have a quiet night. And I felt that way. I felt that way about Genevieve with Aaron sometimes. Like, if I was Genevieve, I would want to leave, but I know she threatened to do so a bunch of times, but she actually didn't. Yeah, the way this season has gone down, the testing, Rodney as well. I felt that way about Rodney with Eliza, who we saw yesterday in that episode. Eliza gets shut down by Justin. She showed up in Maryland looking to win Justin back, and Justin said, nah, I'm good. I'm good. She's like, she told Justin, I wanted someone who was going to choose me. Everyone deserves that. And then he's like, well, I want that too, so you didn't choose me. Bye. So, eventful couple of weeks. Next week, the finale, and the juiciest part of it is going to be the after the final rose. There are a few things we can talk about. We talked about last week, and some shakeups with some established couples. But who's going to get engaged? Well, let's take a look. I made a little graphic here before this episode, so there are a couple people on it that are no longer a question mark. But all the couples of the season, I think, that are still here. With a few exceptions, obviously, NC and Andrew are no longer a thing. I put Serene and Brandon in the middle because they're the most rock solid. And we can go through one by one and kind of predict how things are going to go. There are a few little tidbits we can talk about with the new preview that came out. Hopefully, maybe that will come up. But I recorded a bit of it, took a few screenshots of some things right at the end there really quickly. But all right, way in the corner. Maybe we'll go like clockwise. Danielle and Michael A. One of the couples here. How are things going to end with them? Well, we know that. We know what's going to end, how it's going to end with these two, because, as we've talked about before, as we've talked in preview breakdowns before, these two were seen together in very public photos at Sarah and Wells' weddings. Wells even talked about Danielle being invited. There they are together. But the question remains, how will things end in paradise? They're here as a couple, but do they leave engaged? Do they break up? There's some very interesting footage from the latest preview here. The screenshot that I took, one of the screenshots that I took on my TV there, of Danielle in the back of a limo. Back of a limo. Interesting. And also here, crying. There are some crying shots of Michael too. Could be a fake out, but we might be seeing another Thomas and Becca situation where they break up. Maybe there's a misunderstanding or something. One person wants to go onto the fantasy suite and potentially get engaged, and the other doesn't. Maybe Michael's not ready, and they sort of separate but get back together. That could be that. Either way, don't think they're going to be getting engaged. I think Danielle would have to meet Michael's son James before anything like that happened. So that's my take on these two. Potential breakup scenario, but they're going to be back together for the AFR. We'll see what happens at the AFR. Engagement there. We'll see. Then, up at the top, we've got Aaron and Genevieve. Aaron and Genevieve, definitely a strong couple. I don't think there's an engagement there. Not sure if anything in the preview suggested that they go to the fantasy suite or not. I mean, they easily argue it's not a thing, but 50-50 on whether they leave together or break up. My inclination is sort of that they'll leave as a couple, but who knows? All it takes is one argument about who knows what, anything. Who shot first? Star Wars or something ridiculous. And it's over. Tyler and Brittany, next. What do we think about them? Gonna stay together? They definitely look like a cute couple. They got some actual screen time this episode and a date. So I'm not quite sure. They've really not been covered up until this point. I could see them leaving as a couple. But that's it. That's the max, I think, for them. Could be a breakup, but at most leaving as a couple. Don't see them making it to fantasy suites. Next, Johnny and Victoria. There's some tea about them, which I'll talk about in a second. But Johnny and Victoria, one of our couples here that we've sleuthed out, talked about before, are the engaged. One of the two engaged couples. We've only got two engagement shots Here is the rings and the nails here matching. So they seem to be a couple that gets engaged. Only 2 engagements from the legit ones from the season that we've seen in the previews. Didn't see any additional ones from this latest preview, but they did show us this little shot here. 2 roses. Maybe there are only 2 couples that make it to the fantasy suites at the end. 2 couples. I'm wondering if that's what this means. 2 couples only at the fantasy suites in the final rose ceremony. We got a visitor. Oh, he's sleeping. Sorry, wait, my dog. No, Bob's not coming, but Jackson's here. Quick, dog cam. There's my buddy Jackson. He doesn't often come to the live streams. Usually it's Bob, but Bob decided now just not to come, and maybe it's because Jackson was there. Sorry, we got serious business to get to. 2 roses. Maybe it's just 2, which would make sense with the 2 engagements. Of course, the other engagement here, proposal, we've talked about many times, makes sense. Serene and Brandon. But there is a bit of tea about Victoria. Once we go through all the couples, I'll go over just in case someone wants to avoid the information. But information about Victoria and Johnny. Then at the bottom there, we've also got the twins. The twins with Florence and Shanae. Not going to be anything. Going to be a breakup on decision day, if they even make it there. Looks like they'll at least do that. We always see on the decision day where couples have to decide, if they're going to go to the final rose ceremony together, the fantasy suites and stuff like that. These couples breaking up. But potentially, based on the preview, there's a rose ceremony this time. They do it a little bit differently. They hand out roses that way. That's what it seemed to imply, that they're maybe going to hand out roses as a way to move forward or something. I'm not sure. And we'll talk about that in a second, because next is NC and Andrew. We saw them. We saw that breakup. And last, Kate and Logan. And I'm wondering if that's a place where Kate and Logan finally break up. Whatever this rose ceremony is. So they seem to show shots of people getting upset, something shocked or whatever, and they definitely showed a shot of Kate walking off and Logan just standing there going, "What's up?" So maybe it's just they're going through a kind of whatever rose ceremony, because I guess there are more women than men, so they have to do that. They have to have this rose ceremony, where you would think Mara would go home, and Jasenia, if she would have stayed, Andrew would have given his rose to NC potentially, and she would have gone. So they would have been the ones not making it through that rose ceremony. They still have to have that rose ceremony, so I guess that's what's happening, and then they go on to decision day. I think that's how it's going to work. So, that's the deal. Now, someone asked, how many couples do we think are making it to the fantasy suites? Well, theoretically, 2 for sure, 2 guaranteed. I think the this stuff with Danielle here, and then here in the back of a limo, definitely implies that they don't go to fantasy suites. She's got the same, you can see a little the same blue swimsuit there. And here, this is from the preview that I took screenshots with my phone. So don't think they're going to be going there and then leaving and breaking up in the meantime. Or theoretically, you could go to the final rose ceremony and decide, we're not going to get engaged, I'm just going to give you the rose or something like that. Theoretical. It's possible. But no, don't think that's going to happen. Johnny and Victoria and Brandon and Serene, of course, for sure. Locks. I could see as maybes. Aaron and Genevieve, and then something happens where they decide not to get engaged in between that time. But otherwise, I think it's just the two, at least two making it to that final moment of the season, as seen here. Just the two. Up to at this point, maybe one more to Fantasy Suite and something happens. But beyond that, just two, I think. I think. But we'll see. The rules have been really off kilter this season. Really, really, really off kilter. They people coming back, people leaving. I think we had 3 rose ceremonies in a row or something where the women gave out the roses to the men. It was all messed up because of self-eliminations and then the split week thing that happened. So that was weird. Hard to know. Did Wells get married during filming or was it after? It was after. So after filming here. So this was post Paradise. Yeah, celebrity-filled wedding, lots of Bachelor people there as well. I, like many Bachelor Nation followers, looked through the wedding photos as soon as they came out, and this was the one that went, Michael's on Paradise. Who's that he's with? Arm in arm. And then the footage came out. Yeah, there you go. So, I'll say I'm looking forward to the end of this. Not just to see what happens, mostly for the after the final rose, to see like where couples are at. Specifically, what I'm going to talk about in just a second. But also, I've been feeling a little tired this season. Has anyone else been feeling this? I think maybe too many episodes, a little too much going on, and a little bit overproduced this season. I don't know. I say this because while I was watching this season in the last couple of weeks, I've also been watching Love is Blind. And I mean, if you followed along as well, you know, check out my videos on that. I did 2 videos on Love is Blind. And at the end of Love is Blind, when it came to the decision days there, the wedding days, I was so much more interested in seeing what happened, invested in the dramatic relationships, and moved, at times, dare I say, by the sweet relationships and the weddings that produced actual romantic moments. I know, like, some stuff shifted with the reunion there and stuff like that, and I went, gosh, I'm not feeling the same pull while watching Paradise right now, and that's okay. Not every season of Paradise has to be a masterpiece. Not every season, you know, is going to be better than the next one. But, and Love is Blind has its own faults too, but the difference in that feeling was greater for me because I was watching both at the same time, and it really highlighted it. And Kaleidosaurus, thank you so much for the super chat. Good to see you. Did we talk about the "Do you want to get married right now" bit? Yes. No, we haven't, but I do want to talk about that. Brandon and Serena, I'd bet. I wonder if they went through with it. I do wonder that as well, because theoretically they could be throwing that in and nothing happens. It's just a whatever moment, you know, like Jesse Palmer says, "Hey, I got ordained," and do you want to get married right now? Probably an idea that was brought to production's attention by Kenny from last season of Paradise, because Kenny said, "I will get married right now if you want to arrange it." He was that sure of everything with Mari last season. And then I think he later said something like, "I'm glad we didn't, but that's the headspace I was in." So this season, maybe they're offering it again. But, you know, hey, that'd be pretty wild if someone did get married. I guess we'll see. But yeah, if it were anyone, it's going to be Brandon and Serene for a couple of reasons. One, I'll talk about it right now because I've teased it. I'm sure most of you know it. We did talk about it last week. But just in case, for those of you who haven't, there is something that was revealed by a Bachelor Nation alumni, very well known, Nick Viall, has his podcast and everything. This is how I found out about it, at least. And so, as far as I'm concerned, it's now like public in like knowledge. So, but if you don't want to know about it, it's what about one of our final couples. Here's your warning, you know. But you know, it's been pretty much anywhere. All right, I'm gonna switch it now. So, here we saw Nick Viall posting on TikTok Greg and Victoria F. They apparently went on a whole bunch of trips together. They've been posting things to like not together but in the same location. A lot of stuff. They're a couple now. Pretty wild, especially considering Johnny and Victoria are supposed to be getting engaged. Now, I don't know the details or anything like that beyond this, but you know, it's safe to say that if anyone is getting married on the beach in Paradise that day, it's not going to be Johnny and Victoria. And if there are only two couples, two engagements, as the previews have shown, and the whole, you know, the thing with the two flowers, then it would have to be Brandon and Serene. So there you go. Yes, and something I should have said also, please no Love is Blind spoilers as well. Did I give any? Gosh. I hope I didn't. I was in my head a little bit. But sorry. Yes, sorry people. Please no Love is Blind spoilers. Gosh. Oh no. What have I done? But a couple of the yeah. I'm trying to go through my head. Ooh. Anyways. Back to this. Greg and Victoria seen together. I'm sure this is all the reunion was filmed, I think, after this or around the time. Either way, the reunion would have been filmed while they were together. So this is going to get addressed. Maybe Teddy's going to be there to cover the Andrew stuff. Who knows? But I think the after the final rose is going to be an interesting one too. And then we're on a bit of a break. We get a Christmas break till January 23rd is when The Bachelor begins again. Zach's season. Get ready. No, let me just check to see if we have the actual preview up. Last week they had the preview up early. It was really nice. But if not, I don't think there's a lot. I'll be because Love Is Blind is done. Yeah, will they be surprising us with replacing him with Rodney? That would be a shocker. That would, no one would see, and see coming. But yes, let me just check this preview. They had it up real early last week. But maybe we won't get as lucky this time. Don't think so. But I am interested to see how they go, how things go with Zach, because I don't know, Zach seems like a very bland choice to me, and I don't mean that necessarily in like a negative way. It just seems like a safer choice. Maybe they're hoping for an actual engagement at the end of this. So, if I'm looking on the bright side here, I'm looking on, I'm trying to be hopeful, and maybe there will be an actual engagement. But I don't know. Track record's not been good. So, hear me out. Rodney and Justin for double Bachelor. No more double. Make it just Rodney. But believe me, I promise you right now, in 1 year, it will not be Rodney. I am sorry. They do not do that kind of stuff. Give the people what they want. And in a year, I know there will be other names thrown out. Rodney's will probably get thrown out by people who remember, but they will have other names in the mix. I promise you. It happens every year. It's like a new name. They should have made, Rodney should have been the guy for Clayton's season. And sadly, they're never going to let it happen again. So, yeah, and no more double. No more double. It did not work with Gabby's season. Unless that they have to have like a mega plan. They have to have it all scheduled out. Everything perfectly. It was a mess last season. Just too much to cover, not enough time, and we saw how that worked out. Yeah, Ari came back, but that was a very, very, very specific situation where they had no other option, and if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, there's so many darn seasons, but that was after JoJo's season, correct? I'm waiting on Chad. Let me see. I can Google it until someone's. It was after Rachel. Thank you. No, so yes, and it was Nick that was after JoJo's season, and that was another special scenario. All right, cool. I'm getting my thing back. Yeah, after Rachel's season, that was the Peter K. Peter K was the designated bachelor. That the guy they wanted, and everything fell through. And it didn't happen. Peter K, not the Bachelor. And that's why we ended up with Ara, because they were exhausting all the options and they had to reach back. Same thing happened with Claire. After Peter's season, there was no one that they wanted from Peter's season. I remember the most popular candidate was Champagne Gate Girl. Not Hannah Ann, but Kelsey at that time, top 4 to be Bachelorette. So they had to reach back. Special scenario. Same again after JoJo with Nick. Luke Pell was going to be the Bachelor, and he was all but signed on and everything until they found out he was manufacturing a season and a whole bunch of other stuff happened, and they pulled that from him. So we got the Nick Viall redemption arc in Paradise. So so it does happen, and so it's possible. But I've seen time and time again some new name comes through, and sadly, Rodney will get put to the side. But I'd be so up for it. So up for it. Really, really, really up for it. Yeah, he just seems like a nice guy. At the end of the day, if the lead is likable, so much of the rest will fall into place, as long as they don't screw it up completely, which they can very well do and have. But it makes the job so much easier if you already come in really liking the lead. So there you go. It possible, but unlikely, I think. At this point, they just want a lead that won't get canceled or cause any off-screen drama. Do they? Do they? At this point, I don't know. At this point, I honestly don't know. Because they seem to be encouraging stuff like this. I think they might want it. Because it's happening every season, and they are not vetting this stuff. So I don't know about that. And then they gave Shanae so much screen time, so much producer power this season. She has not apologized to Elizabeth for everything that she said, but she was given the blank slate here, like 50 date cards and opportunities, like not just like date cards to someone who then chose Shanae, like to Shanae. So they know what they're doing. They know what they want. So I don't know. I don't know. So often we also see contestants get vetted by viewers. Like really easy to find things with a quick Google search. Sometimes it's more complex or comes out of nowhere. It comes from some person's old photos or something, but or deep like Twitter account searches, but sometimes it's really really quickly found easily from like a viewer. So I feel like they could have done that, or they did do it and didn't care. So yeah, if they don't focus on the romance, I don't know how many people will keep tuning in. But to be honest, I say this is the end of I say it's at the end of every season and find myself watching. Yeah, I know, me too. But I'm striving for the seasons where I felt the balance. Same sort of as I was talking about the end of Love Is Blind. No spoilers, please, for that. But end of Love Is Blind, I felt a balance, at least in that last episode. Just watching that last episode, not talking about anything that happened after it or anything that changed. A balance of shock, balance of stuff that made me laugh, balance of stuff that was sweet. The Bachelor has been the best when it's balanced like that. when there's drama in the season, and these producers, the showmakers, they always find the drama. There will always be drama, no matter what. But when we get the romance woven in equally, I think the show's at its best, and that's what I want. I want those seasons again. The last, like, I can really, I mean like Hannah Brown's season, Peter's season are especially Hannah Brown's season, I think is iconic, even though it's more dramatic than it is romantic at times, but it has romance. But and you can only depend on that so often. For there to be these iconic sort of franchise moments. Otherwise, you're just trying to manufacture them over and over again, and I feel like that's a problem. They've been trying to manufacture these like it moments, and it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, we're just left with, kind of a feeling that stuff is overproduced or fake. But like the last season I can think of that had like a good mix was Tayshia's season, and that was a season that was in a bubble. Maybe it was helped by the fact that the show hadn't been on in a while, and so people were more receptive, more wanting to watch the show. I definitely was. Maybe that helped it too. But since then, it's just been drama. Just been drama. Yeah, and you can say like Peter's season also, had some iconic moments. That was really just a only drama season. But scraped by off of its watchability. But you can't expect that to happen every time, and you can't. It's hard to manufacture that. So, sometimes you can try, but you just need the right cast. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm always hopeful. Maybe that's my toxic trait. I'm always hopeful for the next season and the next season and the next season, and I keep watching. So, yeah, Peter's season, someone's saying, was my absolute least favorite, but there are definitely some iconic moments from that season. Like high drama, no romance, and that's why I think it was ultimately. It's hard to say that it was a failure, but it's easy to say that because look at how all the relationships turned out, but you can't deny that it was high drama. So yeah, Colton's season had the fence jump, but I think there's a lot of context now that changes the way I view that season. Yeah, Barb from Peter's season, and but a lot of fumbles since. What context? The stuff. Well, Colton, 1, coming out, and 2, primarily. The stuff he did, the stalking and stuff with Cassie was really crappy stuff. So it's hard. When I think back to those times, it's hard for me to think of it in a romantic way. You know what I'm saying? Who's the biggest villain in Bachelor franchise, guy or female? I think I have a video on that. Some of the most iconic villains. It's a subjective thing. Different people are gonna definitely say, one person or another. For me, Courtney Robertson is the number one villain. It's in my opinion, watching that season was wild. One of my favorite seasons, not because it's actually a good season, but because I was enthralled by the lead and the decisions he made, and I left me speechless. Yeah. There's so many people. Corinne, Chad, there's there tons and tons and tons. Sierra and her eyebrows from Sean Lowe's season. But Chad is a villain in a different way. Chad is a villain as like a human being, whereas like I think Courtney is a more like Bachelor franchise villain. But it's Tiara. That's my opinion though. That's my Sparkle. Tiara's Sparkle. So yeah, Chad. I can't control my Queen Victoria is one, but Queen Victoria is another person I'm not a fan of. The way they move through the earth. So, all right, I'm gonna check one more time here, see if maybe a preview's up. I don't think we're gonna be getting to that, but I do want to, because there are no other videos or anything happening this week. Nothing else to cover but Bachelor. To do a preview breakdown. Get back to it for the finale next week. It'll be the last preview breakdown of the year. Till maybe not. Maybe they'll show us a Bachelor preview. Maybe at the end of Paradise. Or maybe sometime in December. But if they don't, this will be the last preview breakdown for the year, and for the finale of Paradise, we'll go over essentially a lot of the same stuff we talked about here tonight. Couples, who's gonna end up where, who's gonna break up, who's gonna get engaged, and after the final rose stuff. I know they showed in the preview a lot of footage that was from the after the final rose, but it wasn't. I know there was stuff that had like Shanae yelling across at someone else. That was from the after the final rose of Clayton's season. I think maybe they did it to try and hide some of the stuff. Might have been too obvious who was together, who was not together, based off of showing where people were seated or something like that. Dunno. But they do that pretty often. Show after the final rose footage, but it's actually from a different season. So we'll go over that there, and then next week it's the finale. So we made it. We've almost made it. We've almost made it. And that is what I'm most excited about. The after the final rose. So, yeah. I mean, and what the hell were Rachel and Gabby doing trying to break up Logan and Kate? They were probably trying to save Logan. Secretly trying to save Logan. In a way that would work for Kate. Maybe that was their goal there. But all right, I'm gonna check one more time for a preview, and then we're gonna end things. I think it's not gonna be up, which is okay. We're gonna go over all this stuff in the preview breakdown. We went over the major stuff that I caught with the photos. The photos of Danielle in the back of a limo or SUV here, crying with Michael. And of course, the only 2 roses at the final rose ceremony. And then of course, Jesse Palmer talking about getting married live on the beach. We'll see about that. But with that, I think we're going to end the stream tonight. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for chatters, live chats, super chats, no chats, lurkers, whoever you are. Thank you to Think Story for modding. I really, really appreciate that. Next week is the finale, and we're going to see how things play out. And then we get our break. We get a month and a bit, but 2 months break. January 23rd is when Zach's season starts again, and I'll be refreshed and rejuvenated for that. Hope you will too. If not, there are always my recaps to catch up on the show. Yeah. Paradise is almost done. By the way, snowing here. Went to take my dogs out while the show was airing. Snowing during Paradise. Everyone's in their swim trunks. And I'm here where it's snowing. But alright, thank you all for joining me. Appreciate you all. See you next week. See you tomorrow for the recap of the week. And then next week for the live stream of the finale on the Tuesday. And until next time, Bachelor Fan Take out.